Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. This is the 25th anniversary season of this program, the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. We have a lot to talk about on this week. Heading into the NFL free agency, we got the Penguins, losers again, outscored 15-1 in their last 3 games. What do they do next? We'll get into that. Is it a reload situation or a rebuild situation? We'll talk about Pitt, but the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown will be the Steelers as they enter free agency, and a lot of big names are out there. Here to discuss is your panel tonight. We have Mr. Ray Fittipaldo from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Steelers beat reporter over there. We have Mr. Mark Kaboly from The Athletic, does the same. You guys are both very good at what you do, by the way. And Andrew Fillipponi from the PM team.
Was Adamski sick? You didn't want an entire panel of Steelers beat writers?
He's not a TV guy.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, he's not a TV guy, but he will be here again. All right, let's get right into this. Ray, I want to start with you. Russell Wilson in town. A couple weeks ago, not many people thought this was even possible, that he would come to discuss this situation. Now that he has, what happens next?
Well, he was in New York for what was deemed an exploratory meeting, so it seems like the Steelers' interest, there's more there than the Giants, but there's also the Las Vegas Raiders who are involved in this too. So depending on what the Raiders' offer is, I don't think the Steelers are going to go beyond 2 years. If the Raiders or another team want to go to 3 years, I think the Steelers would be out. But again, I think if you're looking at it strictly from a football perspective, his best chance to win isn't in New York. It's not in, Antonio Pierce did a good job with the Raiders. It's not in Las Vegas either. It would be with the Steelers.
But what's his wife say?
Well, and that was a backhanded shot at Luke Getsy, too, by the way. Your guy, Mark, out in Vegas. Doesn't think he can win there.
You know what, Bob? About, 8 to 10 days ago, we left that meeting with Omar Khan, and I don't think one of us thought that this would be an option right now. Just how he spoke of Kenny, how he spoke of Mason Rudolph, but it's a legit possibility now. And I think we've gone past the point of should they go after him. It all depends on where he wants to go right now. And I truly believe with you. I think it's, if he wants to go to Vegas, if Vegas wants him, he'll go there. If not, I think this would be option number 2.
Andrew, I want to ask you this. If he does this, however, it goes against what they seem to have said about Kenny Pickett, that they want to give him an opportunity with a new offensive coordinator, a new quarterback coach, all these new pieces designed to get the most out of him. What has changed in that regard?
Why did you just shake your head no while he was asking that question?
I don't know. I
what
agree.
Does that do?
I agree with him. I don't think they should be going down the Russell Wilson path at all. At all.
But also you have, by this time next year, a 5th-year option due to him. And if you go through the entire season, he doesn't play, what do you do with him then? Just let him go?
We're talking about Kenny?
Yes, I'm saying the effect of having Russell Wilson play here, and let's say he plays well. Then what? You just
then you decline Kenny's 5th-year option, and he's a $3 million backup quarterback for his last year.
Like Mac Jones is for Jacksonville.
Well, but there's a lot of quarterbacks that are backups that make that kind of money, so he's not going to hurt you in that regard. I don't see a negative to him coming here and playing well. That's kind of what it sounded like.
How about the flip side of that? How about if he comes and plays terribly and you're still wondering about Kenny?
Well, if he plays terribly, he's not going to play 17 games. Kenny's going to play.
Is he the automatic starter? Because if he comes here, I think he would be.
Okay. But if he doesn't play well, they're going to bench him and play Pickett.
I agree with that, too.
Right. So why can't it be both? I don't think that Russell Wilson precludes you from going on a discovery with Kenny Pickett and figuring out if he can play unless Russell Wilson plays so well that Kenny never gets off the bench. And that is called a good problem. If that's how it goes, then I'm fine with it.
I don't know if I want a 35, soon to be 36-year-old future of my franchise quarterback, right? I don't.
I just go back to what a lot of the veterans said at the end of the season, Bob. Isaac Seumalo in locker cleanout day said, we have to get this quarterback situation straightened out. He did not say we have to get Kenny Pickett healthy. So I just think there's a lot of veterans in there who think they need a better quarterback, and I think maybe Omar and Art realize that.
Yeah, what's changed with Mason Rudolph? Just a couple of weeks ago, it sounded as if they definitely wanted him.
He's more expensive than Wilson, and he's not as good.
He's, put it this way, I think if
True.
Right?
I'm going by what
right. Don't be, throwing the old, whatever the whole word that is. I don't even know what thing I'm trying to say here, but don't cast off Mason quite yet, because if Rudolph's gone, if Russell's gone, goes somewhere else, Mason will be back.
That's the other problem. There could be a domino here. Atlanta needs a quarterback. There are a lot of teams. Minnesota may need one if Kirk Cousins leaves. What happens if Russell Wilson suddenly is looked at by those teams as the bargain they need? You know, Andrew, that could be the case too. And
maybe that's why this deal hasn't happened yet. Maybe Wilson's camp is waiting to see where Kirk Cousins ends up, and then he's the consolation prize for the team that doesn't get him.
You're pro Russell Wilson. If he says, I come here for that 1.2, whatever it is, but you got to give me 40 next year, you say, yeah?
Guarantee it?
Right now.
No, I don't.
Do you think it would be that high for next year?
By the way, though, Ray, back me up on this. Has anybody reported that? There's not been one credible report that says he wants an expensive second year. In fact, it's been the opposite. Dulac, Rossini, they've all said he's willing to play for the veteran minimum in 2024.
For 1 year.
Right.
But he's going to want security beyond the 1 year.
But no one's reported that, Ray. No one has said that for sure yet.
Andrew, I just don't see what's in it for him to play on the vet minimum for 1 year. What's going to be different next year in free agency for him? What if he has a bad year?
Well, then his career's done and he waits 5 years, then goes into the Hall of Fame.
Might as well have
But if he's
$40
Baker
million.
Mayfield and he throws 30 touchdowns, Bobby, he's got a $100 million contract
That's what
waiting
Baker
for him.
Mayfield's going to get. 3 years, $100 million.
I've got a wife that has a pretty nice bank account, so I think
That's a good
Russell's
point too,
okay.
Mark.
I think Russell's okay.
Real quick, I want to get into this topic just because there are other things going on. The Steelers need a lot of needs. They got rid of Patrick Peterson, Allen Robinson, Mason Cole, Presley Harvin.
Why are you shaking your head again
I'm
while
still
Bob's asking
shocked
these
about
questions?
Patrick Peterson. I know where he's going at here.
Shocked.
And I'm
Ray
I'm
said it was
shocked.
the easiest decision they had all
He's smart.
offseason.
He's smarter than me then.
All right, but here they are, glaring weaknesses, not to even mention inside linebacker, which they haven't solved, and they're going to be doing that again. So what happens now? What is their biggest area of need in free agency?
Cornerback and inside linebacker. Cole Holcomb is not going to be ready probably until the middle of the season. They need a 3-down linebacker, but now obviously, not only do you need a slot corner, you need an outside corner to pair with Joey Porter
Bigger.
Jr.
I go center. I go right up the gut, baby.
Mitch Morse, why did he leave without a contract? Mark?
He's older
That's a
too,
good
right?
question.
And they just
I would take him. I would take him
Buffalo
for a
got
year
rid
or
of a
two,
ton
then
of
try to draft one right there. I think center's it's very important for them to get that center right. I don't want Nate Herbig in there. He's played 57 career snaps, and James Daniel hasn't played there since probably, 5 years ago or something to that effect. I don't want that. I think center's huge.
Hey, I would say the odds are very much against it, but I still have on the back of my mind the way Omar talked about inside linebacker, and Queen's just sitting out there.
Patrick Queen is sitting out there.
And he is they love young free agents, guys that come into free agency in their early 20s. He's 24 years old. They're still chasing Ryan Shazier. If they go big money, I think that's their guy. Bob.
And once in a while they need to go big money. He would be a well-spent money, I think, based on his age. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about the Penguins, who right now are on the verge of being eliminated again. That's 2 years in a row without the playoffs. What do they do next? What does Kyle Dubas do in this offseason? It's all next right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. All right, we're back. I'm going to talk about the Penguins in just 1 second, but first, a leftover from the last topic, Deontay Johnson, because he's a guy who's entering the final year of his contract. Ray Fittipaldo, does he want to be here? And secondly, do the Steelers want him here, or would they be willing to take on some, as been reported?
Yeah, listen, last time he was in this situation, he held in, so I could see where maybe.
Would he do that, knowing it's a year that he could cash in big time if he has a big year?
Yeah, so I think it's in his best interest if he doesn't get traded to report and just to ball out in a contract year and do that. To me, if you're the Steelers, who else is going to play out there? I mean, you got George Pickens and no one else. You just cut Allen Robinson. Calvin Austin's played 1 year, little production. To me, you're trying to build around your offense, keep him for 1 year, and just go with it.
I think we're missing the point here. I think the point is he wants out. I think
Johnson wants out.
Yes, I think Deontay wants out. Obviously, his final year of his contract. You're not going to make much money by having a quarterback that's not going to throw you a ball like Kenny or whoever they bring in, whatever. He viewed that like last year. So this whole thought of the Steelers entertaining offers, they're entertaining offers because he wants
out. Has he expressed that to them?
Is that I would assume they did. I mean, I don't think Omar's. I haven't checked my text, but I don't think he's going to get back to me and ask me to trade anybody recently, or somebody offered a trade. But you have to then ask yourself, does he become that malcontent? And which he didn't, give him, a couple years ago.
Right.
But he wants. I'm under the perception that he wants out.
I don't think they're much worse if their receiving room for 2024 is George Pickens, Tyler Boyd, and a guy they take on day 1 or day 2 of the draft.
Tyler Boyd, though, has not been. He's been, what is he?
Well,
he's the number 3 guy.
So I'm saying the guy that you would take on day 1 or day 2 would be your number 2, and Boyd would still be your number 3.
Okay.
No, you're gonna,
No, I don't think Tyler Boyd would come here as a number 3.
you know. Well, he's been a number 3 his whole
I
career,
just
Mark.
don't think he'll come here as a number 3.
All right.
Wink,
They pay him enough
wink,
money,
wink,
I mean-
nod, nod.
They pay him like a
There
2.
are a lot of guys out there you can look around and find guys too. So we'll see. That's going to be interesting as well. I got to shift over to the Penguins. Andrew, start with you on this. Kyle Dubas came in here, made some big moves, made some big signings. Ron Hextall also, I should point out, had a lot to do with where they are because of their either the ownership group, whatever. They wanted to keep all these guys together.
Yeah.
Now it's not working so well. They've gotten rid of Gensel, had to do it. I don't have a problem with that because they had to do it. What does he do now in this offseason? Can you reload or should he rebuild? And if so, how does that look?
Oh, man. I don't think the reloading thing works with this group. They tried to reload this offseason.
Right.
They went out and got the Norris Trophy winning defenseman, and they're in a worse position now than they were at this time last year. So I think you got to continue to try to get younger and strip it down. That's really why I'm so bummed out over the trade that he made. I don't think that he effectively pushed them towards a future winning team with the Gensel trade.
I don't have any problem with the trade. What are you going to get for him? I mean,
Well, they could have traded him earlier. Maybe,
Well,
you know, they
at
also
that point-
should not have signed Ricard
well,
Raquel.
at that point,
They would
aren't
have saved
you at
money.
least give him the opportunity to see if this plays out, right? If they can make the playoffs, but once you figure
Mark,
it
you
out,
didn't really
you
save
gotta
that much money, though, because you brought in a guy in the trade who's making over $4 million a year and is locked in for the next 2 years and is probably not a top 6 forward.
Yeah,
He
I
can be.
just know that he didn't. I mean, he's not. The market was not robust where they were just going to throw out top picks here and there.
He
But
may have
other first round-
miscalculated that
But
too,
other
Ray.
first-round picks got traded. Adam Henrique got traded for
He
a
did.
first-round pick.
But I'm saying maybe he was expecting more offers to come, and he got himself backed into a corner where he had to take whatever's left.
And so what are you going to get for Raquel in July? I mean, that's
Nothing.
a bad contract. And I keep hearing about how Carlson is going to be better in year 2. Graves is going to be better in year 2. Why does it take these guys an entire year for them
shouldn't.
to learn a system? I mean, we're in March now. It's been 8 months since they've been together.
Yeah.
So I don't get that.
If you tear it down, how far do you go?
Well, what can you do? You have all these no
Head
trade
coach?
clauses. You
I'm
have,
talking about coach.
I don't
Is
think
he
that
part
Kyle
of that
Dubas
too?
stepped into a very good situation.
No,
but if
he
you
knew that too,
but
though.
Yes, and if you evaluate his moves in a vacuum, though, if Ron Hextall made these same exact moves, we would be killing him right now. So you got to be consistent. If Hextall had signed Ryan Graves and
no,
made
it's
this Gensel
bad.
trade,
6-year
right?
deal, bad. Yeah.
I mean, so in that respect, like I think there's still a honeymoon
All
stage.
right.
clearly
So
with
he's
him.
doubled down with Mike Sullivan quite a bit.
Bad move.
So you think there should be a change at the
I
head
do.
coaching spot?
Yeah, I think what you did 7 years ago is not really applicable to right now.
Do you think it's his choice? I always look
Whose
at
choice?
I always look at the absentee owners. We don't know who's pulling the strings from behind.
Oh no, I don't think it's his choice. I agree with you.
That's what all these moves, all the the
Bringing
Raquel-
Malkin back,
everybody.
Yeah.
We don't know
They should
if
have
it's
traded,
Dubas.
to be honest, and all due respect to those guys, they're great players, Ray. Malkin and Letang could have been traded and moved for some really good assets 3 years ago if they wanted to.
Yeah.
They chose to double down, keep them here, sign them even longer. So,
And this idea that Crosby, Malkin, and Letang decide how long they're going to play together, I'm not sure if that's the best avenue to go either.
yeah. All right, we're up for a break. We'll come back and talk about Pitt. Somehow, at 21-10, they're on the outside looking in. Will they get to the inside? We'll talk about what chances they have as they enter the ACC tournament next. Since it's the 25th anniversary season of this program, some of the stuff we've seen over the 25 years, you remember this, Andrew. It's Kemba Walker hitting 3 after 3 and making clutch shots, including this game winner to win the the Big East tournament back then, as UConn went on a run at that point for Jim Calhoun. So this week, Pitt will be down in D.C. in the ACC tournament. They got a double bye. That's good. What do they have to do? They're 21-10. It seems like they're on the outside, and even with 2 wins, you know there'll be good wins. Wake Forest and North Carolina, they may not get in. Should they?
By the way, can we get better pick and roll defense there? We're switching and it's Gary McGee on Kemba Walker. Ray, I think you were there for that.
I was there.
I mean, I don't like Gary McGee against
I was there. I
I don't
was
like him
thought it was
against
awful.
Hashim Thabit, let
Yeah.
alone Kemba Walker
Yeah.
in that
That
situation.
made me sad there watching the old Big East.
I love the old Big East tournament.
It's like Gary McGee needed tightrope surgery.
Oh, it was brutal there.
That was a great tournament, though.
So, Bob, what was the question here? Why are they not
So
in?
why are they not in, or at least close to being in? According to Joe Lunardi, they're 2 brackets out. In other words, they're not last 4, next 4, but the next 4 after
we
that.
know it's a lot of analytically driven stuff, and their numbers are good, better than last year, but still not great. And then the other thing is, and the committee's harped on this for years, is that they put a lot of stock in what you do in November and December. They treat those games as equally as what happens in February and March. And Mark's saying under his
I don't
ridiculous.
agree with that.
But they do, and they didn't beat anybody the first 2 months of the season.
But they
Bob,
got
that's the
better. They
problem.
started 1-5, Ray, and
No
now here
doubt.
they are. Aren't you supposed to look at
They
the
don't
team
do that anymore. They do not treat
Well, they
the
should.
last 15 games as more important.
That is true. I covered college basketball for a long time. They do not take into account how you're playing at the end of the season. And I think, unfortunately for Pitt, that non-conference schedule, it's not what
They lost to Missouri at home, Bob.
I understand, but they beat Duke and Virginia on the
They've
road.
won 11 of 14, Bob, and not only that is they got a superstar ready there, made-for-TV superstar in Henson, in my opinion.
And an NBA player.
I
potentially
look
two
at
of
him.
them on the roster.
Don't tell me any of you will see them watching them play is they look like a tournament.
I agree with
They
that.
look like, and they got
passed the eye
11
test.
out of 14 wins. They've beaten Duke, but you're right. The analytics is ruining the world.
All right, so I'll ask you this, and this will be the last question. We got to go to a break. Pitt, at the end of this whole week, will they end up in the NIT or the NCAA? What do you think?
NIT.
I think they're going to get in. I think they're going to win a couple in this tournament.
I think they beat Wake and they beat North Carolina and they get in.
So they lose to the finals, but those 2 wins you think will get them in?
Yeah.
I thought they don't put a lot of emphasis on the end of it. Most of these tournaments don't necessarily matter, by the way, I don't think. If you look at over the years, I'm
24
talking
wins,
too
though,
much
right?
now. I'm way up. I shouldn't have brought that up. But we're due for a break. We'll come back. Henry Davis is on a tear. Should he be on the roster as starting catcher? Next.
Virginia for it.
All right, welcome back. We continue with the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. Now talking about the Pirates. Hit a couple of home runs today. O'Neal Cruz hit 2. Brian Reynolds hit 1. They have the most home runs of any team in baseball, believe it or not, Don. But it is spring training, Ray. Big question is Henry Davis. He's been on fire, hitting long balls, and I mean tape measure balls, but also he's been doing a good job at catching. The Pirates seem to bring in Yasmani Grandal to be that guy. Should Henry Davis now move ahead of him and be the opening day catcher and everyday catcher?
Bob, the only reason it ever made sense to take him #1 was for him to be your starting catcher. You don't draft DHs in #1 and have them just be hitters or have them be a part-time right fielder. So I think he's shown he's improvement defensively. Let him play. If he plays his way out of it, okay. But let him go out there. You draft him #1 for a reason.
There's not a lot of catchers in Major League Baseball have that type of power, right? I just
that's a
worry
luxury
about
if you can get it.
I worry about that hurting his hitting at some point. So I would let him play until he proves he can't, until he can't hit anymore, and then I'd move on from there. But you cannot deny what he's done in spring training, how the ball's flying off the bat here. I would play him until he fails.
I'm cautiously optimistic about him. I don't want to be tricked and hoodwinked by spring training. I got hoodwinked by preseason with Kenny Pickett, 5 for 5, 5 possessions.
I think we all did.
those games getting so excited.
We all
Bob.
did,
Yes.
right? I
so
think people had a.
I can't let that happen with the
And
baseball.
how many
team
people
now,
thought
too.
the Penguins with Carlson were the same thing, right? You get caught up in it. I get it. So you're saying
No, I'm saying I'm still giving him the job. I think the most overrated thing in baseball right now is the quote-unquote handling of the pitching staff, because so much of the calls now come from the dugout. These catchers aren't even making the decisions on the pitching and pitch sequencing. The pitching coach and manager are doing
Right.
that. So
they look in, get the thing. How bad does it look then if he is a starting catcher that they didn't use him at all last year in this regard? They could have given him more of an opportunity to play.
It does, but Bob, you have to move on.
But they had Rodriguez last year, Bob. I mean, they had another catching
I understand that.
prospect.
So in other words, if Rodriguez is healthy, you think he'd be given this chance
I think he'd be out in right field.
again?
Yeah.
To your point, it didn't hurt Mike Piazza
Right.
when he was catching.
He's one of the few, though.
I know, but I mean, this guy was a #1 pick. I say, roll him out there, let him play.
I mean, one thing we can all agree at, you can't get rid of that bat right now.
No, they need
You
him.
can't.
And by the way, Piazza was a good defensive catcher. He just couldn't throw anybody out. I mean, you could steal a base
But how
off
many
him, Bob.
can today?
I mean,
And Mark, you too. Well, how are the Achilles doing?
they're feeling good right now.
Not many can today. The percentages are all in the favor of the base
Right.
runner, I think. Or pitchers make it harder.
So are you going over the number or not?
74.5? Is that what it is?
75.5.
75, yes, I'm going over. Are you?
No.
No. Yes? No?
I'm never over.
Wait a minute, why not?
I don't trust the pitching.
Starting pitch.
35 straight years of losing.
Okay, at some point it's got to end
Yeah,
for the over and under. They
after
went over
that-
last year.
After that, I'll be
You
a
like
believer.
their offseason moves?
No, I hated their offseason.
And you're still going over.
I do think their 2 pitchers they brought in and Chapman can be helpful. But I think this Jared Jones dude down there, he's throwing it 100 miles an hour every single time, it seems like. He's got schemes.
I'm just wary. All those pitchers you named are on one-year contracts. Where are they August 1st? Are they here?
I mean, that's probably part of the game plan. Hopefully they'll be pushed out of a job and they can get something for them.
See, I think Triola needs to be in that
Play
starting
second?
lineup.
Yeah, I do too.
I love him.
I'd play him at first. I wouldn't.
Anywhere.
Rowdy Tellez is Rowdy Tellez. I'm not sold on that signing, and we'll see where it leads to. All right, so you're all going under.
Yeah.
Under.
I'm going to go over. You have it on the record right now. All right, I'm going to tell you something else. To earn a great nickname, you got to do things bigger and better. That description fits beautifully on 4 #1 Cochran Ford stores. They're calling it the Ford-tastic 4 because customers can enjoy their time with pricing power. 4 times the selection. You got 4 times the thrills. You got all sorts of limited time offers right now. The Ford-tastic 4 have it all. So visit any one of the 4 #1 Cochran Ford stores or shop online at Cochran.com. Do it now. All right, that's going to do it for us. We have a big week coming up. It is free agency in the NFL. We'll talk about that. And also Pitt goes to Washington, D.C. in the ACC tournament. That's going to do it for our guest panelists, of course, Ray Fittipaldo, Mark Kaboly, Andrew Fillipponi. I'm Bob Pompeani. Thanks for joining us. We'll do it again next Sunday night and every Sunday night right here at 11:35. Thanks for watching the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. Good night.